Hey, folks, we're live. We're in the studio here to address this mess. Yeah, Mike, you go from here. I got some shit to do.
Okay, this show's brought to you by Onnit, Onnit.com, supplement superstore. They give you brain stuff, and quite honestly, we're not taking it today. We're trying something else.
Yeah.
But we're trying something that's just like Alpha Brain that works. I know that works. I take those shroom tech pills all the time, help you process oxygen. Whole bunch of stuff. If you're into that kind of thing, taking pills to get an advantage, you saw it in the movies, and you want to try it in real life, go to addressthismess.com, click on the banner, and go to Onnit and get yourself some brain pills.
So this is a pill popping show. I took that pill, and now we're all pilled up.
Oh, buddy, you're in for a treat.
Also brought to you by Amazon.com. Amazon's a giant online superstore. You can buy anything there. If you want to buy anything from Amazon and help support the show, go to addressthismess.com, click on the banner, buy yourself anything you want. We bought everything in the studio, I think, on Amazon.
Of course.
Amazon's a shit. And that's where Alex gets all his audiobooks at audible.com.
I'm working on the reading thing. I still don't have that all figured out yet.
He's almost through the first Hunger Games. He's hooked.
I've never really bought stuff on Amazon.
No?
I've bought a bit of stuff, soap or something that you can't
Soap.
get. Yeah, some soap. I bought some soap.
They always recommend some shit to you.
Some
It's really weird. They're a little presumptuous.
Well, I used
Try them out, though. Audible.com get you free audiobook if you type in what? What's our code? Sorry?
/ATM.
ATM / ATM. Get you
Oh.
a free audio.
Oh, for audio. Right. It's audibletrial.com /ATM.
Key. Check it out. addressthismess.com.
And we got Dollar Shave Club. So if you're into shaving, you're sick of paying those high prices for those razors, what we can do is you can go to Dollar Shave Club for $3.50 a month. They'll send 5 razors directly to your door, and it saves you all that hassle of having to go to the store and pick them up and paying for overpriced razors,
I'm going to get those. There's my next Amazon purchase.
Yeah, there you
soap
go.
And now some razors.
I want to know how much money that guy's making. I really want to know how he's doing.
The
razors.
Amazon dude? Yeah.
No, the razors.
Oh, the razor dude.
Yeah.
The Amazon
Dollar Shave
dude.
Club?
Yeah, he's probably doing all right, man.
I can't see razors being really that expensive to make. They just screw you.
Yeah, like the upsale on it. Or maybe he's just got a fucking... You could see that guy getting in some sort of scandal, right? Like where he had these kids making them that aren't supposed to be making them in some weird country.
How he's getting them so
shipping
cheap.
them over, and he was just this total sociopath.
Well, I did have
Bernie Madoff of razors.
I'm just gonna bring
Okay.
we on the today in the studio we got me, Alex, Mackenzie, Mike, Stang, and joining us here we've got the always hilarious, very entertaining Damonde Trschritter.
What's going on,
Damonde,
guys?
it's Damon.
It's Damon
Damon.
Trschritter, but
Shit, I always fuck that up.
My dad says Damonde,
Does he?
because it's spelled that
It-
way,
yeah,
right?
it
Like
looks-
as a joke. He's
Sounds,
like, "Hey, Damonde."
sounds pretty slick, Damonde.
Yeah, Damonde. So that's when
Oh, that's
so I'm
what
used to it.
How stupid am I?
If you're trying to get your buddy's girlfriend to bring her friend for you, get him to say Damonde.
Damonde.
My
Yeah.
friend Damonde.
Well, being a
Should
stand-up,
be
I
like,
go,
"Oh, show
I go
up."
to a lot of places where they haven't seen me before, and they're like, "We thought you were going to be a black guy."
Yeah.
Like
That's what I was saying with the girlfriend.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
going to think
Damonde,
you're,
yeah.
I'll go on a blind date with Damonde.
Damonde, and then Amazon. For a while I did a what do you call eBay. I had an eBay business.
Oh, like
On
you
the
were turning,
side.
flipping?
Yeah, this guy. I knew a guy who was an autograph hound. He went and got like you got Ovechkin on the wall, so he'd go in there in town. He'd make all these 8x10s and get them signed, and then he'd sell them. He was making a ton of money, so he had this special machine that could blow up photos to do it. So we just went around and cut out good pictures out of magazines, blew them up, and then sold them for like $10, like it was a picture.
Really?
And yeah, making like an extra $4,000 a month on the side, selling
That's so
knockoff photos, and then it just got kind of shut down. Like there'd be trademark. You get warned once. You
Well,
can
that's
never
such
sell
a
that
weird
again.
one, man. 'Cause I worked at a hockey school with a guy where like a lot of the counselor guys were like university players.
Yeah.
And this one guy, just as a kid, had gotten Wayne Gretzky's autograph, and as a kid, got so obsessed with it, he learned how to mimic it perfectly. So he
Okay.
was like signing these kids' jerseys like for fun and just putting a perfect Wayne Gretzky handle on it. And I was like, you could just make a bunch of money if you can actually forge that guy's signature in some sort of way.
Yeah,
Where it's perfect. He just had it down where he could.
because it's a
It was a perfect
easy
exact.
or
And
identifiable.
then you sell it on eBay, and it's like,
you
well,
just see number 99, you know
Yeah,
who it is.
this guy had some authenticity. He used to work at anyhow. He had it authenticated, and Wayne Gretzky told him to fuck off though. Wayne Gretzky hated this guy. Yeah, yelled at him to fuck right off because he was with there's two big bald guys that go on these they get everyone's autographs, and they cornered Wayne Gretzky outside a rink one time, and this guy was there with him, and so Wayne Gretzky hates him. Like when he got traded to the Rangers, he ran out, got a Rangers jersey made and just pretended he was going through the airport because he knew Wayne was there, and then got Wayne to sign it, and Wayne was like, "You fuck it." Like, he just hates it, right? So because he knows that all he does is sell it on
For money.
he just for money. Like these guys hate all the players.
Hey, can I get an autograph,
Yeah.
Dick?
Yeah,
I gave you 80 this week.
Yeah, they all hated him, and they're like, they'd send little kids in to get more Bobby Orrs because Bobby was like, guys, that's one's enough, huh? Like, you know what's up? And they're just. He was the lowest dirtbag for.
Just sign it. Just sign it, buddy.
Yeah, they made this guy sign. Wayne was like, no, and these two big guys were like, sign it. And then he pointed out, you see these guys are at like the red carpet for the Academy Awards, and these two, they drive Lexus vehicle. They're like super rich, but they're the bully autograph hounds. They make people like, you're gonna sign this fucking picture, like they shove it in Wayne's face, right?
Just get it right in there.
Yeah, they were like, the toughest autograph hounds out there.
Yeah. That's fucking
hilarious.
awesome.
That's a big part of that whole business. It's like the appreciation of some sort of.
Well, he'd have like all the concierges in town paid off. So if somebody checked in, hey, George Clooney just checked in at this, so he'd know to come down to like the Hotel Vancouver where they were, and then he'd just pretend he was like in the lobby and, oh hey George, you know,
and then he just punch George Clooney in the face.
Yeah, then he get an autograph.
That's what you want to do.
Just have a kid of like 8x10s. I just happen to have some 8x10s and a Sharpie. Can you sign these?
Convenient.
Yeah, and they all hated him. Everybody like it. He's been told off by everybody.
Yeah.
So
what? I can't get a minute of your time, superstar.
Yeah,
sign my shit.
Yeah, and they're always, and they do, but they don't. They know.
Yeah, they all know him now, so they're gonna fuck him.
Yeah, it's kind of. I don't know if he still does have.
I wonder what happens if you're a guy like Justin Bieber and there's like 29-year-old guy crying his eyes out while you sign like his shirt or something like that. And he's like wanting to touch you and he's like cherishing you, and it'd be like fucking weird. What if he's like yoked out of his mind too? But he's like, you got him crying. Like, how many creepy fans does that guy bump into? It's a lot of young girls, I'm sure. And then all of a sudden he just sees that guy and he's like, oh, this guy's gonna be a problem.
And he's probably at multiple shows too. Like he's like a deadhead. He's touring around the country following.
Security's got like him and 5 other photos, like right on their phones to be like scouting the crowds for that guy. Yeah,
keep this kid out of here.
Guy.
He's high risk.
Let's talk about ayahuasca. You
want to get right to that?
Should we? Should we wait? I was really excited to hear about it.
Yeah,
DMT.
Okay, you guys. Yeah.
Holy fuck. We're being fired upon.
My beer didn't taste so well because it wasn't vented.
Oh yeah, the vented can. Do listeners, have you guys talked about ayahuasca on here before? You guys, what do you guys know about
DMT?
We've talked about
Stinger
DMT.
knows about DMT.
So,
but well, it's
because ayahuasca is just a way to release the DMT, right? Like the DMT.
It's sort of it.
If you need like a brief preface, it's just the dream drug. It's what your brain produces when you go to sleep at night and have those dreams. And what you've done is, or what people have done apparently for centuries.
Yeah.
Have harvested it naturally in the jungles of Peru, and they mix these two.
They got to mix these two plants together.
And they found it in a jungle where there's like tens of thousands of different plants, and somehow they found out how to mix these a long time ago and have this experience.
They said the plants told them what to mix.
Yeah.
Really?
And the chances, some guy worked out mathematically, the chances of just stumbling across these two things together to get this is like 1 billion to 1. There's so many plants in the Amazon, but these people know how to do it. So you drink that. You go down to Peru is where they have.
This is where you did it.
I wound up doing it in Mexico, in this place, San Miguel, Mexico. But the woman, the shaman, had been in Peru for 20 years doing it and had the stuff. But now,
how'd you get hooked up with her?
I knew kind of another strange lady who worked with dolphins and could mimic dolphin sounds and used it to help heal people's brains. And my mom was kind of sick, so I talked to this girl. She used to be in my high school, and so we're starting to talk. And I was thinking of going down with these other couple of guys down to Peru to go to do ayahuasca for about a year. I'd heard about it, and then I was talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm kind of weird." I said, "Oh, I'm actually thinking of doing this stuff ayahuasca." And she's like, "Oh my God, I went and did it."
Yeah.
So she's like, so she knew the shaman. So you go to her place. So instead of being out in a pit in a jungle where everyone's puking and freaking out,
right?
Yeah.
Just a buddy and I went. So you're safe. Like you're at her place. So it was twice at like this place that she had. We did it 3 times: Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Oh shit!
And the last one was out in the desert at like a repossessed drug lord's mansion.
Oh really?
So yeah,
in Mexico. I guess there's probably a couple of those just kicking around.
Yeah, it was just
cartel land there.
Shit.
Abandoned. So you go and the.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
How much did environment mean to you when you were doing it?
It's pretty important where you are, and I could see like it would be probably tough to be in a room full of people freaking out because the guy with me, he had never done any type of like drugs. Like I've done acid and other stuff. So I was like, I'm going to be fine. I won't freak out. So when it started, I was fine. And then I just heard him like, he started kicking tables and flipping out down the hall. He was puking his guts out down the side. And I was just having like the greatest trip. Like you see, I don't know. It was like you're drinking out of like a river of love. Yeah. Everything. You're just, I was thirsty. I was just lapping up love in this. And he's losing it. And then
he's fucking losing it.
He's gone. He got removed from, she had to take him and put him in a whole different area. Yeah. Because he was losing it. And then.
Does she do it with you?
Yeah. They take it. So they're there. And they can actually sometimes pop into what you're seeing. They'll be there.
Oh, really?
They can get in. You go into like this whole other,
yeah, man, I heard
like dimension, and the shaman can actually pop in
just,
if you're losing it. Can find you like in a whole different way.
Man, it seems like the hardest thing in the world to describe this thing. Like everyone I've heard, they're like it's another world.
It's really hard to describe. So the first half was amazing, and then there's like a little break, like a hurricane in the storm, where you think it's ending, but it's not. It's just at the halfway point. You eat a little, and then. Fuck, I had a tough back nine. All of a sudden, I slid into the dark side. And you're like,
fatigue set in, eh?
Yeah, and you don't know, like, so everyone throws up. The purging thing?
Yeah,
like, everybody's going to puke, but you're not, like, just throwing up. Like, I was throwing up, like, people. You're all of a sudden, you're like, I didn't know I had a problem with Chris Gaskin. And then out it went, right? You puked out, Chris Gaskin was gone from your life. So you were puking all those people and like, oh no, some me shit. And out it would go. So it was just this really super hard. And it feels like it's never going to end. It's the scariest thing because there's no way. You can't just be like, okay, I've had enough. I'm out. Yeah. You have to ride through it. And it was like 6 hours, but it felt like days. Yeah. And I was just, and then when I came to, I was like curled up in front of like a little goat in a fireplace and a Jesus pit. It was fucking weird.
Could you see the goat when you were high?
Yep. You can see you're totally, that's the other thing. It's not like other things. Like you can open your eyes and you know where you are. Right. And you know what's going on. Right?
Are your eyes shut for most of it?
Most of it. You close your eyes.
Just close your eyes, just go on a fucking adventure.
And then you go at a...
What about like just being in a Mexican drug lord's?
Yeah, we're not
Is there any
freaking out that
Yeah,
they're gonna come back.
No, that was.
I would say even just being in a different country where I'm deprived of certain freedoms that I don't have where I'm actually would like cause a bit of.
Well, the weird thing, what was really safe was like this old town. So we were in the place, and even the cat. She's like, "Oh, the cat helps out." Yeah. Sarah was this cat helps assist in the thing. You're like, oh, what the fuck? Yeah, the cat helps.
You get it after, right?
And then the before the bad back nine, Kenny had been puking all the time, and so you have like these little plastic bags in case you're gonna chuck. She had them there. So I was kind of like I heard this bag ruffling around. I had my eyes closed. I'm like, what the fuck's all that noise? I looked, and the cat was pulling this bag open and basically built like a little puke cylinder for Kenny. I'm like, oh, it made a puke cylinder for Kenny, and then all of a sudden I started feeling like, oh fuck, it's for me. Oh fuck, wrong. So I puked in this thing that the cat built. So the cat did assist, right? So she wasn't kidding. And so you do day one, and then you have like a day, like you're doing yoga and all this. So the crazy part is now I got to do like yoga, and I'm like, I didn't want to be that fucking guy. Now I got to do yoga to stay connected. Yeah, you have to sort of get into these kind of things. So you did day one, then day two was really freaky again, puked when you saw a bunch of stuff. And then the last day out in the desert was amazing because you're outdoors, so you could explore all over.
Okay. And would think you would walk around on it?
Yep, you can walk around, not very fast. and there's times where I just couldn't move. Like my feet were just rooted to the ground. Like, fuck, I'm not going anywhere. But then you could feel the whole current of the universe like flowing through your arms. You just stick your arms. I held my arms out in like a like T for probably an hour, and they weren't tired. Yeah, right. You're just energy just going through you. And I saw the other guy like leaning on a tree, talking to a tree over there, and it's. And the weird thing is, it's not.
Turn your head, just that thing, just turn like spin it, so that it like isn't hitting like that. Okay. Like the actual this part, just spin that so it's not hitting them.
It's not like a drug where you escape. It's more like.
Slide this back too. Anyway,
it's more like you're getting loaded up with information. It's like you go into the Matrix and you learn everything about yourself. They're just loading up. You're not escaping. You're just learning how the universe works, the world, everything's connected. So you find out like you're just part of a whole You're
whole
not
bigger
you're not a
machine that's
one
going
person.
on.
You're a part. You can feel the whole universe. You're tied into everything. It kind of tells you how the universe works. And then, even though his was different, this guy was like, when he came out of the bathroom, his puke came out. He was like, "I've just been talking Chinese for the last 15 minutes." Right? So, he was traveling, speaking other languages. He's like, "I thought I was talking to some Vikings, but they said no, they're Germanic." I sat in and like he was time traveling. Yeah, they corrected him, right? So. So even though ours was totally different, I was getting images like showing stuff, and he was like talking and
He was in there.
But you get the same message.
Oh,
Everybody, I only know 3 people have done it, and everyone gets the same message at the end, which is you're supposed to help save the world.
Oh, okay.
It's asking you to help out. Like it's we're in some trouble. It wants everybody to go back to living
like,
in unison with the universe, is what you're
Right.
kind of
Some
told.
sort of harmony.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. So when you're done, then you're like, so I got given all these messages. I had to do it 6 different people. They told me to go tell them certain things, and I didn't know what any of the messages meant, and I didn't even know like 2 of these people very well. And everybody that I went to deliver them to was like, "How the fuck did you know that?" And they kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
And it meant they knew exactly what it meant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like
So
they gave you names of people to give it to.
it told
like,
me,
go and see this guy and tell him this.
yes, go see this person, tell them this,
Yeah.
and then you go. What they do with it, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's up to
right,
them, right? Like, I had to tell one guy the first guy, I can tell this one because he's had like 4 boys, and he thinks his wife keeps trying to have a daughter.
Yeah.
And then it told me like, oh, he's just trying to have a version of himself. So he's supposed to name this last kid after himself,
Yeah.
like Dave Jr., and that'll close the circle. And he's done. So when we ran into him, I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to tell you. And then his eyes went all huge. He's like, I've been driving around the last 2 days thinking I want to name this kid Dave Jr.
Jr.,
Like he already
yeah.
knew that. It kind of confirmed what he was thinking.
Yeah.
Because all his kids are named like Nash, Stone, Leaf, right? And then they overruled him and named the new kid Stone or whatever. So he's going to have another baby. That's it. He's not. Yeah. He's
Oh,
not
so he's gonna have another one. Hopefully, it'll be a girl.
I don't know. He's going to have another boy. That's what it tells
right,
him.
right.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So that's
Just looking for Dave Jr., man.
Yeah, it's
Give the guy Dave Jr.
Yeah, just get Dave Jr. and you can quit having fucking kids. You won't be overwhelmed, right? Like, so that's sort of what it tells you. So now, like I'm like this mess. I'm supposed to write I'm writing like a 1-man show about it.
Oh, of your ayahuasca trip?
Yeah, because I'm supposed. I got told I'm supposed to tell about this stuff, but I'm like,
well, you're doing a good job. We got all these viewers watching right now. They're loving it.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't want to be that guy. Now I got to go around and fucking tell people like that weird guy that's like, oh, the Jesus complex dude. Yeah. No, I got to. I'm like, oh fuck. But
Go on stage with a fucking Rashiki stick or something.
Yeah.
Shake it around.
Yeah. So I would say,
would you recommend it?
You know what? You can't recommend. Everybody's got to decide whether they're going to do it, because it's the most incredible. You see the most incredible stuff and learn the most amazing things, but you also will go into the darkest, scariest moment you've ever felt, and it lasts for a long time.
Do you feel like that was the most important part?
The dark side? The dark side, yeah, they're equally important. The dark side was terrifying, but that's how you got rid of like yourself. Like I can see why it works for like drug addicts and heroin addicts, because when you're done, you're like a whole new person. It's like a reset button. You've left all your problems are puked out of you and gone. Yeah. So you're just kind of free. It's a really great feeling at the end of it. But I wouldn't want to, tell anyone you got to do this, because they might really
not like it.
And
then they're going to be pissed off at you. They're puking you up.
Yeah,
during
they're puking you up.
Iowaska,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Fucking trip.
Fucking shredder. and we did it 3 times in 5 days, which she had.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
She was like, it closes a circle.
What's the other way that they do it? That's like a 15-minute. Because ayahuasca, I heard, it's like that drags it out to like almost an 8-hour trip.
If you synthetically smoke DMT, I guess it only lasts like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, I think I would start with that one. Just start with a little banger.
Well, yeah, the weird thing, I don't know. I've never tried just DMT, so I can't tell you if it's the same, because this has a whole, like, it's pretty incredible. But I would say, I don't know anybody who hasn't regretted doing it that's done it.
Who has regretted?
They haven't regretted it. I don't know anyone who's regretted it. But I know, like, the one guy, after the first one, he's like, no, fuck it, I'm not doing it. And that's the other thing. At the end of the first night, I was like, not only can I not finish what I'm doing right now this trip, I'm not staying for 2 more. I'm going back to the hotel. I'm getting in a fucking plane and flying home, right?
Yeah.
Done. But when it ends, you've learned so much, like, holy fuck, I gotta come back and get the rest of those answers. So day 2, I was terrified. Well, I was dreaming like, oh fuck, some terrible stuff's coming, right? Like, it was scary, man. Yeah. Day 3, but the third one, I was like, okay, I kind of felt like I had puked out all the stuff, and this was going to be learning, and that's what happened, right?
Payday.
So it was like $1,500 to do it, and that included like where you stayed, all your food, all these yoga classes, all the stuff.
They gave you like the week in.
That gave you 7 weeks in Iowa, or 7 days in Ayahuasca land, and our flights were about $600.
Okay.
So $2,000, and you're all in.
Wow.
And it's safe. You're not down with everybody like puking and freaking out all around you. Would be.
You feel like someone could go way too deep with something like that?
What do you mean?
Like completely lose touch with reality? Like, you know, like how they cooked Ted Kaczynski in those LSD studies, those Harvard LSD studies, where it's like LSD can be consciousness expanding, but then all of a sudden you cross this threshold where there's a point of no return, where this world makes zero sense to you anymore.
I don't think so, because it's not synthetic. Like, it's a natural thing, and the shaman and them have done it. They do it every time.
Right.
So they're not.
Yeah, but are they really connected to the
funny thing was,
word?
I thought the shaman was going to be like a woman with like a bone through her nose, like but she looks like Lily Tomlin. She had like red lipsticks, like, hello! She was like a white lady from San Francisco, but she had gone to learn in the jungle. So she spent 20 years in the jungles of Peru and with shaman and learning all the stuff. They kept her in like a little room for like a month. Just like with your brain, just so you get like, it was just, she has this amazing training. So I would say that I don't think you can go too deep, but I guess it's possible. But these shaman guys, like, they get there and then they just stay, right? To learn. And
I think doing the shaman thing's probably the right way to do it, right? Like you got to get that guy in there.
Yeah, you got.
Going solo.
I wouldn't say I do. I don't think you could do it solo. I think you got to find a shaman to do it. And the other thing is, it's not like now that I've done it. Yeah, I'm done. It's not like we should get some of that and go up into the woods on Friday. You know, like, you've learned all the stuff. So I've been through it. I don't have to really do it again. I found all the answers.
How did it make you feel about show business afterwards?
Ooh, that's tricky. It kind of makes you. It didn't make me want to do stand up anymore. Like, when I was done, I was kind of like, you know, like telling jokes, and that just seemed meaningless, right? Because you're told like, you find out everything works, and so you're
peek behind the real curtain.
You got to peek behind the curtain. Yeah, you see how it all works, and then you're supposed to. It's sort of encouraging you to talk about it. Like, you have this ability to speak and talk to people, is what it told me. So I'm supposed to be doing that. So the longer you don't do it, the worse you feel, because you're going in the wrong direction. And so now I can really, like, I rely an incredible amount on like instincts, and I learned that I can spot signs. Like, if I'm thinking something, I see something, I'm like, oh, that is telling me to follow. Yeah. So it's really hard to do. So I'm on a whole different way of trying to live my life, because now I'm going on signs from the universe instead of trying to do everything my own way. Right. And so after a year, it's been pretty confusing. Yeah. But has it been a year? It's been a year. I did it last week. It was a year in February, and I'm just now beginning to like, it's becoming kind of normal. I'm sort of, I've kind of figured it out what I'm doing, and it's becoming like, okay, so I'm about to start you're changing into a new phase in your life. But it took a year, even after learning it, to practice and do it. I'm like, I don't like getting up and doing yoga. Like, I had only done. So you still continue to do yoga? You still do it, because then it calms you down. You get into a like, once you're calm, then you're more receptive to everything. And like, drinking cuts it off. Oh, like when you drink, you're not connected to the universe. It's like a buffer to stop it. What about smoking weed? Weed works. Weed actually is good, because it opens up your brain waves to be allowing stuff, right? So, but booze. So for a long time I didn't drink, and then I started again at Christmas time, because I was stuck in Saskatoon for 20 days doing shows. I hated it. I was drinking a bottle of wine every night, like, get me the fuck out of Saskatoon. I had Christmas lights up, and I was like, I was going crazy in some shitty hotel. So well, maybe now your listeners know a little bit about it. And trying not to do it. The girl actually phoned me, the weird lady who hooked me up, because I had sent her a message on Facebook and I forgot about it. So I had just decided not to go to the comic. So I almost feel like the ayahuasca called me. Yeah. Like at 5, it's like, oh, hey, you're not getting away. Yeah, here's the person who's going to take it. Right. So don't force it. Wait till. Yeah. It came from a whole different direction of the way I could have gone, but I still wound up going. Yeah. So from not going to 1 week later, I was in the middle of Mexico. Yeah. That's a good call. That's sweet, man. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that. I like it. Like, Conor McGregor's kind of on that level with that whole. Does my mic sound weird? Yeah. No, your mic sounds good. Okay, fine. He's on that whole other level with like believing. Like, he talks about creating moments in your mind,
If like, you like really believe in something and focus on it. Jesus, fucking lost the screen here. You can actually like create the moment. And you'll start making the image in your head before it even happened. And it just kind of reminds me. You're talking about like signs from the universe that you start picking up.
Yeah, you can do that, and other things, and I can see things like before they happen. Like I know this is going to kind of happen, and then it happens, and you're kind of like, that's kind of freaky. And not only that, it was like walk around like, man, I could sure use like after we finish, I'm like, I could just use a yoga thing. I didn't know where to find it. I come around the corner, and there in an open square is everyone doing yoga, and there's one mat open. So the shaman was like, you got to start being aware of what you think because it's going to start to happen now. You're going to cause.
I'm pretty good at that with relationships now. I just know right away they're going to crash and burn.
Yeah, they all do.
He says crash before. See? The ayahuasca told him you're fucked. This thing's going to crash.
How did it make you feel about like psychics and people who talk a lot of shit that way, but every now and then there's that one where you're like, maybe this guy's on another level?
I don't know. I didn't get any. It didn't change what I thought about psychics, but I don't really.
But like this weird gap that's getting bridged in your own deja vu kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess.
If you came closer to it, isn't it possible that someone could be even further than you?
Oh yeah, there's got to be people who are way above me. So I feel like it's something that exists. Like all that you've heard through time with people who could see the future and all, read people's mind, whatever, psychics. I think they're out there. I don't know. I think there's a lot of.
Well, I think 99% of them are. They have this weird skill set that they've acquired where they can. Yeah, parlor trick their way into like knowing things that you don't know how they did it.
Yeah, they got some guesses.
What are those cards used that they use?
Tarot
cards.
Yeah, if they're using those, I think they're bullshit.
Not.
It seems like a kit,
though, dude.
It seems like a psychic kit you can buy at Amazon.com. Go to Address This Mess.
Well, the weird thing was what happened. What I saw and happened like in the first day I did Iowaska, and then I looked. I had this like horoscope app. Yeah, and I was just in Mexico, so I looked at that night, and it described exactly in my horoscope what I had just gone through, which was weird.
The ayahuasca?
Yeah, and then Wednesday I checked it again. Fuck, same message I got was written in my horoscope.
Did you check it prior to doing it?
No, I wound up checking it afterwards.
What about all the other ones though? Did they all match up too?
I didn't look at the other one. I didn't. You know what? That's a good call. I didn't look through the rest of the. I didn't see what a Virgo was up to, but I was just like shocked. I was like, holy shit, that's weird. That like so for all three of them, I checked afterwards, and the message was like, man, I got told that, and here it is in your horoscope. And I'm not a big horoscope guy, or I wasn't. Yeah. Now I kind of take a look at the end of the day to see how close it was to what happened. And close.
Yeah, it's interesting that exists, and then you look at the stigma around it or laws that have been built around it. I think people have become, at some point in history, they became very aware of how transcendent these things can be, but then realized that it made people cut out their money-making schemes. They'd look at them all and be like, nah, fuck you, and you can't have those people. So they found a way to suppress all these things and slander them and then now you don't even want it. DMT is the most illegal, like the thing it's the most illegal thing you could be carrying around. Yeah. They've made it. Yeah, they made a disconnect. They don't want people to have. That's kind of like acid at the beginning. LSD was kind of to expand your mind, and then the government was like, no, fuck that. We're gonna make that illegal. Yeah. And because I read this thing like meta program, like you could. The ayahuasca, because you do it on your own, the shaman's not telling you what to do, but they're sort of saying like if an evil person was there with you, they could be feeding your mind and it would reprogram your belief system. Like you could do it while you're on these things, and that's one of the things they could do with acid. So they kind of. Well, I think that's a big reason why the government was so into researching acid in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. They were doing a lot of it, putting their own people on it. Yeah. There was a story that came out recently where they had. Their own CIA agents would go to a brothel, and then, like, when they would get up to the room, they would dose these guys, and they would just watch how they reacted. They were so scared, so because no one knew about it.
They were getting dosed.
No, these guys didn't know they were getting dosed, and they knew that they were doing something like a little unprofessional.
Yeah,
so
want to get their dick.
So they didn't know that, like, they didn't really want to talk about them being there, so they wouldn't bring up the experience of like, I got dosed and all this crazy shit happened, because they didn't even want to explain that they were at a brothel in the first place. Yeah, right. So they were just doing it to their own people because they thought there was so much to this stuff, and maybe there is, but they never really like put it into an application where they control people.
Started to use it for evil.
Yeah,
like I think.
Well, they were thinking they were going to try and see if they could, but I don't think that they found like a real way to do that. Maybe they didn't, because we'll never know. Maybe that's how you make a Dick Cheney or something.
I'll say this: I like the movie "The Men Who Stare at Goats."
Oh yeah,
is really good. That kind of has an ayahuasca.
With Jeff Bridges and
they're George Clooney. They're trying to build like a psychic army And they say that's where "be all you can be." They got the catch slogan from and that, right? So it's kind of so when you watch that, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's not like, I don't know if you guys have done acid. Right? It's not, you don't hallucinate when you do the. It's weird when you're taking the ayahuasca. You're not like, I don't look at you and like, oh, you're turning into a dragon.
Yeah.
You can see, oh, I know where I am, and then when you're close, you're getting messages sent to you. But it's dark, like you can't come out of it. But
what if you just keep your eyes open the whole time? You're safe. So like
you could do that. You're still, but like you'll get a message out of like a picture or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you'll open your eyes lots of times, but you're like, wow,
I'm going back.
Yeah, well, you gotta close them because it's a little. It's like when.
Did you feel
heat's coming off a road?
Yeah.
And it's kind of wavy. That's what your consciousness looks like. Things are wavy. You can see what it is, but it's blurry,
right?
And kind of moving because it's
okay.
Yeah.
What about? Did you feel you were being guided through your trip? Like if you started thinking about something that you weren't supposed to be thinking about, did it like no, come back over here, like do this?
It would take you in different places. Yeah, it could pull you, but I don't think you could think.
Okay.
I don't think you're thinking. You're just kind of following like what it tells you to do. Like you're like, okay, fuck, it's telling me to walk over there.
Yeah.
I better go, right? So I don't know what's over there, but I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
And that's how you'd wind up at these places. And then you get there and you'd learn, so you'd find some diamond-shaped rock that would be giving you a message of a pyramid scheme. I don't know, like it was just weird stuff happening, right? So all of a sudden you're like, oh, I found an energy source. That's when I had my arms out and everything was just going through me. It told me to walk over to there.
Yeah.
Then I got there and then that happened.
Yeah.
For an hour.
Yeah. Here I am.
Yeah. And then you just go with it. You just go with whatever is going on. And then I came home all kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, I bet, man.
It took about a week before you were kind of not humming.
When you're coming back to reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was weird. You come back to a city in like Vancouver and you're like, oh, this is.
Have you been back to LA since that?
LA?
Yeah. Because
no,
that town apparently is just a weird one to live in.
It is.
So you see all these superficial people, then you go away and do something consciousness expanding like you did, and then you go back.
We stopped in LA on the way back.
Oh yeah.
To tell, like, we just had a couple of days there, but I haven't gone for any length of time back to LA. Have you guys?
I've never been. I want to go there.
There was a story about a soap opera actor.
Yeah.
Who was just one of those guys, superficial actor. Got this gig and went down and did ayahuasca. When he came back, he's like, "Yeah, fuck this job, fuck this business. This is retarded."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I got to go do something with my life here." Like.
Yeah, that's the part of like doing jokes and like doing stand up is kind of like, well, it's just a small thing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Really, right? So you're like you can do. You sort of say like, there's all this stuff to do.
What do you think is like the most powerful thing you can do? Like go volunteer, like go do Greenpeace shit, or like
I don't know. It's not telling you to do that. You're supposed to.
Is it more spreading a message?
I would say the most powerful thing I could do is like write a show about it and talk like in detail of what happens.
Okay.
You think that's maybe just trying to get everyone to do it so that everybody does it once and then everybody realizes that like love rules the world?
Yeah, I think it is. It's like, it's supposed to spread like like it's just you talk about it and then if people want to do it. But I guess that's what it's
and then
trying to do.
if you could get everybody to do it, you couldn't have these people that are just crooked and ruining us.
Well, because they'd puke they'd either die of vomit overdose or what they'd either puke themselves to death or they'd get it all out. But
then we would just be living like the fucking Avatar jungle people.
Yeah, we'd be
in
back
harmony
to that.
with
in
everything.
harmony.
We'd plug into the fucking Mother Nature.
Plug right into Mother Nature. It would all be over. There'd be no Dick Cheneys in that ruining everything. So, but those guys would never go. They're gonna.
Well, it's funny the amount, like the thing I hear you saying here, like the amount of people I hear talking like this, it's getting like exponential. I meet more and more people that seem like they're getting more and more concerned about the environment and the way that we're treating the world, and we're just mining this place for everything it's worth. But when did you get that rising up where it's gonna like overswing, right? Like we're all like I'm down for that, man. Like helping out.
We're gonna need a comet to hit this place, restart it.
Yeah,
that's like the old apocalypse.
Well, I'm reading all these sort of weird books, the Disinformation Society and all this sort of stuff since I've gone, and they're talking about like in 9500 BC and 7600, 3500, there was like a catastrophic incident. Something went by and flooded the planet. Like it turns out they're saying like the Earth can like change quickly, like a whole Atlantis could sink, like a continental. Earth's kind of fragile, so they're thinking like a comet or something came so close that the gravity pulls all the oceans, it floods all the people, wipes out. So like at points they think like 80% of the human population got wiped out. And these little things happen, but we don't have a written
Well, they
record.
were still too dumb to really write it down either, right?
Well, no, apparently they're really smart. The guys who built the pyramids they were like on a level of technology where they knew about stars. It's not technology like we have now, but they knew how to harness energy and build like pyramids, and all this sort of stuff was done by really sophisticated people.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think if they're supposed to be smart, then they should have found a way to write down their knowledge so it would have lived forever. But have we figured that out?
No.
We can't.
No.
Like, if we go, all our shit's gone too.
They've got it on.
What's going to stand the test of time? We haven't even written shit on cave walls. We haven't. What's going to be standing? Some monuments, maybe some fossils.
Yeah, if it's gone, who's going to be able to access
But
a
your
computer?
laptop's not going to be fucking loaded up in
No. We got
8,000
some-
years.
Yeah, well, and if like a new civilization does come across this, they're gonna know what the fuck it is, right?
Yeah,
But,
no.
well, it would never last that long.
We
in
don't
the dirt,
know what
right?
it is. I don't know how a fucking microwave works. I just eat out of it.
But do we have anything concrete? Like, I guess we have the space station out in space that maybe if everything I don't know, it'd probably fucking demolished too. Out there.
Yeah, that whatever goes by.
We have set a couple probes out there that are in space. Those are man-made objects
Yeah.
that'll be there probably forever.
But
Aliens
we
are
don't
finding
even.
those, like we're finding fucking artifacts, like an old like hammer.
We should be firing them out all day, every day.
Well, they always say things like, we're listening for radio signals in space, and like, well, that's like, we don't even really use radio signals. Like, we're sending out
Yeah.
a fucking.
Yeah, some of the future or the
Everybody
astronauts,
more advanced than us isn't going to be using radio waves. We don't use CBs anymore and shit like
they
that.
said it's
right?
like sending an email to Christopher Columbus on the Santa Maria. They're like,
Yeah.
You didn't get it? How did you not get the email?
Well, that's funny.
Yeah,
you
he's not
mentioned
using it.
The Santa Maria, and they said that like whatever the indigenous people when those ships came couldn't see them. Like they couldn't see them out in the water because they had never seen anything like it, so their mind couldn't imagine.
Oh, really?
A ship. They saw the guys when they came ashore, but they couldn't. It's just they didn't see it. They're like, well, there's nothing there because their brain couldn't process what was out there.
Really?
What
That's
the
what-
fuck could
That's
possibly
what
be
this
coming
thing,
in?
yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, when they asked them, none of them could see the ships out there because they didn't know what it didn't.
That's
it didn't
wild,
fit in
right?
their brain as something that exists.
They would have had to seen it as it hit the shore, though, right?
Well, they knew the guys. They saw the guys that came on and whatever. But
Right.
but apparently because their brain
Yeah,
couldn't comprehend what
Once
that
he came
was.
off, he hopped off. He's like,
Yeah.
you guys Indians?
Yeah.
No, we're not Indians.
Yeah.
This is India, right? No.
Well, it is now.
Yeah, you're Indians.
You're
Yeah.
Indians. Yeah.
You're going to be Indians. I bet you for the next
Louis.
couple hundred years, you're going to be Indians at least.
Yeah, it didn't go well for
Nah.
them. And then they're just saying that like all that stuff, all the Aztec stuff is built by people before that. They just lived there.
Yeah, but see, I've never
Those guys
seen,
were all fucked
like,
up.
I've never
though.
seen a sphinx in Egypt there, but I bet you if I go there, I'm gonna see it.
Well, you're
I'm
gonna
not
see.
just gonna
Well,
walk by and
you
like,
know,
where the fuck-
but no, you know what it is. It's like, but they're saying like, well, what if there is like, there could be a ship, a spaceship
Right.
right there, but we can't comprehend what it would look like or something. We just don't see it.
It'd be like
What
if the
there's something-
Millennium Falcon was floating
Well,
up there. I
like
guess
an-
I've seen that, right?
like an ant doesn't know what we are.
Yeah, that's
So you're walking by an ant, fucking that doesn't mean anything. He doesn't know what you're up to.
Yeah.
Right. So we have, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just-
no, that
Meanwhile,
doesn't
he should be able
yeah,
to see you.
he should be, but you don't really. He doesn't. It's just one of those things where like
Yeah.
the universe is so big and we're just so
Right.
small. We have no idea.
some
Like
Briskalov shit there.
yeah,
It's
Do you remember Briskalov?
the goalie. Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah, he was.
So you used to do a podcast on hockey, you said,
yeah,
eh?
we used to do Funnier Than Gretzky.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
it was pretty good. So we'd have like.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but we went. You know what? After I really have admiration for those guys who do like sports talk for 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 1 hour a week, we were getting tired of hockey stories that we had told, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like okay, so those guys to talk about.
You basically have to watch the NHL that week and then like go off all new stuff
Well,
after a while.
Well,
right?
you bring your guest on and they
Right.
tell you, and some of them had funny story. You know, they met Denny Potvin. I guess the only big guy we got, Jurke Lume came on.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so we had Lume come on, but he talked about a lot of stuff afterwards, but he didn't say too much about players and that while you're doing it because there's the whole they don't really want to tell you.
He's still doing some charity work. And
They just it's kind of like let's say we did some stuff, but we don't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
the broads in Dallas.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
you don't say yeah. So it was kind of we get on Craig Northey from the Odds or something would come down, and so
That's pretty sweet.
yeah, we just talked hockey. What is this one? Is this a comedy podcast or is this just
what it's
heavy
ranked
shit we're
under.
talking about?
Yeah, we got it down as a comedy podcast because pretty much all I do is laugh the whole time. But no, I don't know. We just kind of fly by the seat of our pants.
It's
And
really
this
just
all started because we were talking about Joe Rogan before
Yeah.
we started taping.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much I don't know. That's a podcast I listened to that made me want to do this, because it's like you start talking about things and you have all these ideas, and sometimes in your normal life, you don't have the ability to go down these avenues, like to talk about weird things, to entertain that for a while. And if you're just hanging out with some people, but then all of a sudden you bring up time travel. Yeah. And they're like, no, not here. No, I don't have to be subject to this. So here it's like you have this wide open field where you get to run wild. We'll just pull up stuff on YouTube and fucking. Yeah.
Well, like some of the shit we talk about.
Or some of the things we would come up with, we would sorry to interrupt. Yes, we would have a question that would come up and we'd be like, well, I don't fucking know. And so we just Google it in a heartbeat. So then as soon as you can come up with this new question that you have, you can come up with an answer.
What did it say about Christopher Columbus's ships being invisible?
Let's take a look. What do you got? What's the over-under on this?
We used to play a game called Celebrity Net Worth.
I know. I was just thinking that, man.
What did you guys play?
We should play it.
Celebrity Net Worth?
Yeah. So what we do is we usually do it for like a $15 iTunes card.
Yeah.
And you get to challenge either me or Mike.
Okay.
And then what we do is whoever's not in the game. So say you and Mike were playing. I name a celebrity.
Okay.
You would guess his net worth, and Mike would guess, and then whoever's closest. We didn't do the not over. It was just straight up who's closest. You could be over, you could be under.
No Price is Right rules.
No, it's not Price is Right.
Okay.
Just whoever was within the closest.
So if you're over, you're not out.
Yeah. No $90 million and $1.
Okay.
And I think was it best of 7 or best of 5? We'll do one. What do you want to do? Best of 7 or best of 5?
Best of 5.
Best of 5. Okay. We got to check out. Look what I typed in. Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus.
Oh.
Remix.
Is that a sign?
Yeah. It's well, I was gonna say that like when I started stand up, I started with Seth Rogen.
What do you mean?
Well, the
in
first
Vancouver?
The first time he's on stage, if you go on YouTube, it's me introducing him.
Really?
Yeah, we were on the show. So he was always there. There's this guy, I bought my pot off him when I lived in LA.
How much stand up did he do?
Not much. He'd come down, but he'd come down and do stand up.
Did you know when he got Freaks and Geeks or whatever?
Yeah, he was around doing that, and then all of a sudden he went from like a kid to like a man. Like all of a sudden he was big.
Right.
And then, he was living in LA, and now, I don't really talk to him because he's got a whole new code of friend. I can text him every now and then and whatever.
Really?
But he's like, so he was,
that guy gets like $100 million guarantee from a movie. Like if he's like, this movie's going to cost a lot and we're going to get like 7 stars. They're like, yep, do it.
Yeah.
His box office numbers are crazy.
Well, I still see his mom comes to shows and she's around. So I talk to her. So she's like, they're allowed to do basically whatever they want now. They got a license to make the craziest shit like that. I don't know if you guys have seen the
Sausage
Party.
Yeah.
Did you see the preview for that?
I did.
Holy fuck, it's really funny.
Yeah.
So they said it's just crazy, but I thought it was going to be like Fritz the Cat, like when I heard Sausage Party, like some sort of weird, trippy 70s cartoon, but when that potato starts getting skinned, I started burst out laughing. Right? It's skinning me alive. Like, holy fuck, the food's alive, and it's this whole world that. So it's like, and she just apparently it's just insane. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Do you know when he met that Evan Goldberg guy?
Have I met Evan?
Have you?
Yeah, he would be with Seth at times. At like they'd come to parties, so Seth was allowed to like smoke pot. He didn't drink, but all the comics would go and hang out after parties, and that Evan kid was with them sometimes, but he never spoke. I don't remember that guy saying anything. That was just Seth's friend.
Yeah.
Right. And but I guess they were always together. So he'd come down to the show. I don't ever remember talking to the guy. I just remember him having like his buddy with him.
Yeah.
And I didn't even
And he never went on stage or anything?
No, only Seth went on stage. Right. So
who's this Evan guy?
He's his writing partner. They write everything. Like every Seth Rogen movie.
Yeah, they grew up together in like Vancouver, and they wrote stuff. So they wrote like
he's basically making all the money, but just
Super Bad. Yeah, they wrote Super Bad as kids living there. They started. So when I read it, like it was really just more a story about these kids who get their beer taken by the cops. It was all more about that. Like what the movie became was different than what I read. Years before, right? So,
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, they're
super cool.
So just one of those,
I got the little thing here for you about your ships. So it says the term "ships not seen" in the context of scientific discovery, a lot of S's in here for a guy with a lisp, is reference to the famous Christopher Columbus story of how, upon arrival to the New World, the native Indians supposedly could not see the ships in the harbor, even though they were in plain sight. Supposedly because they did not have the proper mental slots or receptors to process or accept such foreign or rather never before seen views.
See, now I'm that guy. Fuck, remember I told you I didn't want to be that guy? Like, I remember when I started comedy, JP Mass was this guy. I'm like, fuck, now I'm that guy? I didn't want to be that guy. So, I'm walking around with all this useless information.
No, that's good stuff, man. What do they got here? Meaning that oftentimes scientists and modern thinkers closed into a certain way of seeing or thinking about things will often not see what is directly in front of them. A term in which has a cousin similarity to not seeing the forest amid the trees or not seeing the trees amid the forest. Depending on discussion, is related to the glass walls phenomenon. We can click the link. We could go all day. We'll learn about
Let's
that.
get on to celebrity worth. Yeah, we've solved the ships. And
Have you ever worked with Doug Stanhope?
I have worked with Doug Stanhope. He used to come to Yuck Yucks when we started, and then we'd all one night we all ate some mushrooms and went out around Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah. So this was before the guys were just like, "Oh, Doug
We
Stanhope."
need another hour with this guy.
Yeah, I had never heard of Doug Stanhope. So when I went down to see him,
Yeah.
it was like, "Oh, there's Doug Stanhope." It was this, like, just hammered, right? Oh no, that's the second time I saw him was at Yuck Yucks because I went to see him. I did the Chicago Comedy Festival first. Mm-hmm. And this was like this festival they had in, I don't know, 2000. So I went to see Doug Stanhope because I heard he was really funny. And so I went to this show that he was on. I was doing like a New Faces show. And he came out in a Dallas Cowboys football helmet with a beer in each hand and like a flannel shirt undone, and then just raged about George Bush for 25 minutes and left. So I was like, fuck, I still don't know what this guy looks like. I couldn't see his face because he was wearing a football helmet. And then saw him at the after party. So the thing about him is he's always got to be like drunk where, you know, like your eye, like when you turn and your eyeballs don't catch up in time. Like he's that hammered, and that's his functional
Yeah.
state.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so he was.
See, that's the weird thing because I've been told by people you can't drink and do comedy.
He has to. Like
He's
like,
sort of the
yeah,
exception,
but to me-
though, right?
Yeah, that's kind of like, it's weird. It's almost sad because that's like his identity now. So like last time I did a comedy festival with him, he's like, okay, I got to go get the funny juice in me. So all of a sudden he drinks until he's pretty hammered before he does his show. That's just,
Yeah.
then he's loose enough to talk, I guess.
Yeah.
But it can't.
I always like having a couple drinks before.
Yeah, I'll have a beer.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. But I'm
like six.
not drunk like on stage. Like
Right.
I've become drunk on stage from people sending shots. And that, but not starting out drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, tequila and that. Doug Stanhope.
What's the most famous guy you worked with? Was he Rogan, I guess? Seth Rogen?
Well, I guess yeah, but Rogan that's just sort of like when we're all doing spots.
That's gotta
right?
be that's gotta be weird, hey? Like seeing a guy like go up through that rank. Like is it
It's-
weird watching
what-
that guy? He was a guy doing 5-minute spots beside you to start, and
It's
then
it's not really weird because he was almost. It's like he was built like he was in improv classes, acting school. His mom brought him down to do all the comedy gym and learn comedy. So he was by 16 or 14. He had been like doing.
is this the
all
one
this
here
stuff
that
for
you bring
you.
him in?
Yeah, that's
This
it
one?
there. The one that says Seth Rogen, stand up, the top one there.
This one?
Yep. And you'll see I'm just
Is there you?
there's me right there.
That's you?
That's me. Like,
Fucking hair clip I gotta fight with here. The next guy up, this is like this kid is a great up-and-comer. I think you're gonna enjoy him a lot. Will you please welcome to the stage, Mr. Seth Rogen.
That's fucking cool, man.
You called it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
you can enjoy him then.
Yeah, big up and comer. So, folks, if you look up Seth Rogen's first time doing stand-up comedy, 1996.
You always have that laugh.
Did I? Did
he?
he? Yes. But in that, his voice is a little lower. But it was when he turned like all of a sudden like 17. He was. Remember, you watch The Simpsons when it shows what Bart Simpson's like as an adult, and he's all furry, and he's like,
Yeah.
that's what's all of a sudden Seth showed up. He's like, hey, David, like he was this huge. I'm like, holy fuck, you're giant now. Like he went from like a kid to
Yeah, like
the
a
size
man.
he is now. Yeah, he went to like man by 18. He looked like a giant man.
Is he a
right?
Jew or does he just look like a Jew?
He's Jewish. Yeah,
He's Jewish.
yeah. So he, yeah, that's how he started out. Like he got in like with.
Do you think that's
Apatow.
what it takes to
Shut up, Doug.
get up to that level? Like, do
No.
you have to take courses? Do you have to be, or is it just being in the scene?
You got to be in it. Like he was down there by 18 or something. He was living down in LA all the time, right? So he was
Oh,
writing
okay.
on things with Apatow. He helped write. Like he was just immersed in it.
Yeah,
And I think so. I mean, there's different ones like Russell Peters. I know well,
yeah,
and he went from like just being a guy like us who was doing Yuck Yucks
yeah.
to one day people were lined up around the corner to see him, and it's all because of his comedy now that someone's going to get hurt real bad.
Yeah, that's the one
So,
that I heard. him comment
apparently,
on too.
some kid, like a little kid, like I don't know, 14 or 15, cut that up before people really did this. He cut out that little thing and sent it as like something you'd open in your email.
Oh, right.
Just as an audio clip before people were posting on YouTube. So
Right.
it kind of went around. So he went from like just a guy who had just enough money for sneakers and whatever to a lineup to like all of a sudden he was huge. Everybody that's the break that he got. It wasn't anything that he did with the stand-up that was so great. He got this break, but
it's like Dane Cook using MySpace or something.
Kind of like that. He was the next guy. So
the first
guy. And it wasn't him who did it though. Like it
was just someone who took his
some
comedy
other kid
was just that funny. Right?
Yeah, a kid did it, but he had already been doing stand-up for 16 years at the time. So when he got big, he was already ready. It wasn't a hard transition, but it's like you go like when he was doing GM Place in Vancouver, I went down to the show. Yeah. So you're hanging with him backstage, and it's like your buddy is going up like he's Bruce Springsteen. There's a whole stadium.
like Bruce Springsteen.
Like he walks up, and there's a whole arena is like there for his comedy.
Yeah.
And then he comes backstage, and you couldn't believe how many guys like make their living off him, like packing up the stages, and they go on the tour thing. I'm like, holy shit! He probably like there's probably 200 people. Yeah. Depending on him
being
for
funny.
a living, right? And that's it. He goes up and does his show for an hour and a half, and
he's the biggest Canadian comic ever.
He's got to be like for stand-up. He's got to be one of the biggest. He's still making probably $20 million a year.
He's doing crowd work at O2 Arena.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, right? So he's down to doing crowd work because he doesn't. It's too hard for him to write a new. Like he wasn't a prolific writer, but he was always good.
Yeah, and those accents are like unbelievable. Yeah. And he maybe a white guy couldn't do all that.
Couldn't do it, no.
But he found this way to be Russell Peters, and like he talks honestly about his life. He tells material. And did you see him call out Trevor Noah? As a joke thief?
No, I didn't.
It's fucking crazy. There's this lady he's interviewing with when they were gonna pick everybody for the Daily Show.
Yeah.
This lady somehow thinks that Russell Peters was up for the job or something like that, and he's like, "Nah, I wouldn't want that job." She's like, "No, you're not just jealous of Trevor Noah." And I was like, "No, good for Trevor Noah." And she's like, "Well, he's this up and coming comic. He got this job." And he's like, "Yeah, well, he's also a joke thief." And she's like, "What? What?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's stolen from me. He's stolen from this guy."
Oh, really?
And he just caught it. And then not that much longer later, Trevor Noah got caught doing a bit that's like almost right bang on a Dave Chappelle bit.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, his bit about how racism is like if it's just blatant and honest.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle talks about the racism in the South. He's like, "Oh, it's just fucking beautiful. It's just out there. Morning, nigger. Morning, sir." Yeah. And he does it basically because he's from South Africa and he's sort of this
that's his whole
tan guy or whatever.
Yeah.
So he does the same bit, just changes a few words. And if you were going to steal that bit, you'd do it just the way he did. Right. Like to steal it, change just enough.
Your bit you did last night, I've been trying to write one for it, and I was like, I think I got to throw this whole thing out now. Is because when I was in Vancouver going to school, I auditioned for a couple like commercials.
Yeah. And
then I made it pretty. I got callbacks and then got shortlisted, all that. And then I'm sitting there and I was thinking, I'm like, this is really fucking cool. But what if the bit, like the thing that you get for you end up being like the guy off the Goonies where you're like, get in the basement, fucker. They're poking you with a stick. And you're like, that's the guy that I fucking qualified for. I fit that description.
Yeah. Like for people who didn't know the joke, I got a part in Smallville. As this, but I'm not the guy. They got like a fat guy who plays a part, and I'm just the guy after he gets the life sucked out of him by this vampire. I'm just the skinny version of him. So all I did was fall out from behind some steam. I was like, "Help me!" I was like, he's been drained, and then Tom Welling catches me in his arms. He's like, "Oh, I die in Superman's arms," right? So, but it's funny. The chick that was going around. Draining everyone, the vampires, is Amy Adams. She's a really big actress now.
Amy Adams.
Is it Amy Adams?
Redhead?
Yeah, reddish blonde, whatever she was in like Big Eyes and
this girl here
and The Fighter. Yeah, her. That was like must have been her first role. So again, like you're there with her, sitting eating lunch, but I don't know if she's gonna turn out to be Amy. And it took me I only figured this out like a couple of years ago. I'm like, fuck, I think that's the chick who sucked the life out of me, right?
Oh, that is awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah, pretty solid.
She's a healthy kid.
Yeah, she's healthy. And then you guys mentioned Chappelle. I missed him in Vancouver. He dropped down to a place where we did open mics, and I had done a set. I would decided to go to do another set across town, and he showed up and came down and apparently did an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah, he was in Vancouver filming something. I don't know. This is like, again, in the end of the 90s. There was a lot of guys around. Robin Williams was just dropping in doing sets all the time.
Is like Chappelle like a top 5 guy? Like to every comic? Do comics talk about that all the time? Like
Chappelle's on everyone's list.
Everyone's top 5.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, like right now,
dude, I was just watching Blue Streak today.
Oh yeah.
Are you smoking those cigarettes? I can smell that menthol from up here. Put that shit out.
I think Chappelle, every comic like Chappelle, that Richard Pryor's kind of the
Yeah.
But like breathing, I guess.
But right now, I think
like
everybody
still working even actually because Eddie Murphy's breathing, but he's not working.
I'd say right now the champ is, well, I guess it's still Louis C.K., but Bill Burr.
Yeah,
If you guys watch Bill
Oh
Burr,
yeah, lots of.
Well, that's why I think there's a solid top 4 that are undeniable. Is Burr, Louis, Chappelle, and Daniel Tosh.
Mm-hmm.
I think those 4 are like the biggest guys going.
Dude, that Jimmy
and the
Carr
best
was
guys
fucking
going.
unreal.
He's very
I
funny.
watched that special 3 times now. It's on Netflix. It just came out. His crowd work is off the.
He's
off
funny.
the
He's
chain.
quick. He's good. He's
yeah, I gotta see him. Bill Burr. We went to see Bill Burr in Toronto like a year and a half ago.
He was just in Vancouver. In
I went to see him
February,
again.
right?
I just saw him again the second time, and I went with a couple of like, I don't know, Derek Edwards. I don't know if you guys know these. There's a couple of big,
man.
Derek Edwards, a big Canadian comic. I went with a kind of like
from Timmins, Ontario.
Yeah.
The second
Derek,
famous guy.
second famous guy behind Shania Twain.
Yeah.
You got him beat, right? So, but he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met in sort of Canadian comedy. So Derek Edwards and Steve I went with all these guys, and we went to see it, and I forgot when I went to see Bill Burr what it's like to laugh for an hour till you're exhausted because I just we can see most stuff. I laugh so hard, and then afterwards,
You've been doing it so long, you can kind of see where the joke's going.
But with him, we were all quiet. Nobody was really talking too much because we were all kind of like, "Holy fuck! Did you see that? We're doing shit over here." Like everyone was, and that's it. You just started writing like, "Look, you can do that. We don't have to be doing this. Look at that guy, right?" Like it was just the most.
Dude, I get that all the
show.
time. You start watching these guys come in, like you guys coming in from Vancouver, you're like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, it's
got work to do.
It's if anybody can go see Bill Burr live, go. And Louis C.K. same thing. Like the first time I saw him was in the Vancouver Comedy Festival. I didn't even know who Louis C.K. was.
Right.
And like you got to see this Louis C.K. guy and went in and he was fucking.
What is it
hilarious.
you think about Louis? Do you think it's that he's putting out a fresh hour so quick, like all the time? Like he did like 3 hours 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah, it's just that
It's
he's
got to be the authenticity, right?
Yeah, it's the authentic. Yeah, he's just funny. Whatever he talks about, it's so like you don't think in that way you should be able to because he brings out something there.
He gets to go to an area we don't get to go to,
and
he brings you there with him, and then you get to laugh, and you're like, oh, this guy's.
That's another thing. I watched Bill Burr do this thing on who has more kill, like the Hall of Fame. He was equating baseball, Babe Ruth, and that to Hitler's kills and Stalin.
Yeah,
like he's like Hitler 7 million, but like Stalin 25 million gets no respect, right? He had this whole. He's the real champ, but nobody ever talks about him. He's not up there in the ledge. So, so he does this bit, and it's hilarious, and people are laughing. But I'm like, there is no way you could ever work that bit out in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right? The crowd would like turn on before while you're starting to work it out. So you'd think it wouldn't be funny and not working. He's in like New York. You got to be, and Louis in New York. You're in a place where they can.
A bit of encouragement on those bits.
Well, they can talk about anything.
Right.
People aren't like, whoa, you should be talking about that, right?
I got that at the Comedy Mix when I did a spot there. It turned into shit, man. That was probably the worst show I've ever done. I did Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
And then went awesome, like great. I was like, fuck, man, I'm getting like good at this. I got it all figured out. This is tight. We did the exact same set of Comedy Mix, and it was like people, ooh.
Oh, really?
Like, what the fuck happened?
Well, it's a tough town for. It's good to start like doing comedy in Vancouver is good because the crowd is like the most lame kind of PC crowd. Like you go to Toronto, it's so much easier to get laughs.
That's what I mean. Like PC seems like it's kind of fucking the whole thing.
It is, but times are a changing, buddy.
Yeah,
you gotta go with it. You can't still be.
But these top comics, they're not PC.
No,
Look
they're
at the
not.
four guys.
is
They
that
transcend
time,
that, but
is that time
they
put in?
find a way to be funny on those topics, and that's the difference.
Bill Burr did a great thing on Bill Cosby out of the gate. He's talking about, they were saying about Ricky Gervais being all brave for hosting. He's kind of mad. You can tell he's mad that Ricky, this guy's doing shit, right? That's fucking, that's not brave. You've been back 3 times. They're not afraid of you, right? So he's like, and he throws Bill Cosby under the bus. He's like, if you wanted to be brave, why don't you stick up for Bill Cosby? And so he does a whole, he takes it, he talks all about being the all-time rapist and all this sort of stuff. And it's hilarious, but he takes it from a point of view where he just describes it, but as if like he's a fan of his work for what he's done with women,
I heard he did some shit about women or whatever.
He
and
does.
It got little dicey in Vancouver there. He was talking about women, and it was something to do with like women saying they're so smart or whatever and all this. He's like, yeah, if you're women, or talk about how men make more than women in the workplace.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, if you ladies are so smart, how the fuck do you let that happen, huh?
Yeah, he's like, he said that, if you're smarter and all this stuff, he's like, well, what are you waiting for? What have you been taking? Well, haven't you done anything yet? 50 years you've been voting, whatever. He's like, and And then it just kind of went kind of quiet. He's like, I always mean for that to be inspirational, but it doesn't seem to work, right? Like it was like his pep talk to try and get women to step up their game and really do something. But it was fun. He then gets heckled. Like here he is in Vancouver, and somebody just yells from the deck, "Your shoes suck." I'm like, why would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, my shoes, and then and then he turned that into like, that's the heckles you get in Canada. Your shoes suck, right? Like, so it turned out to be funny, but
Well,
do
that
you
guy
see that,
wants to say heckled Bill Burr, and
Yeah.
everybody knows Bill Burr can handle him as well as anybody. He might just roast you
Well, did
completely.
you see what Jimmy Carr did to that guy? That was hilarious in his
Yeah.
special.
Well, he asked for heckles.
Yeah, well, he did, and then the guy fucking said something. What did he say about him? Said some shit anyway. Then Jimmy Carr does this big thing. He's like, "Oh, the guy said, when does the comedy start?" Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, it's a classic. It's a classic."
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, the comedy, it has started or it hasn't. It's an opinionated thing. It's like, I'm really upset though that you paid all this money to be here. Life's not fair. He's like, another thing that's not fair about life is that if a man sleeps with a bunch of women, he's a stud, he's a player, he's a pimp. He's like, but if a woman sleeps with a lot of men, he's his mom. And like calls the guy
points
out
to the guy right there.
and then the guy yells back. He's like, your face looks like a 42-inch wide TV. He's like, what? He's like, you have a wide face. And then he just takes. He's like, I just called your mom a prostitute.
Yeah. And
You said I have a wide face.
Well, I don't know how long have you been doing stand-up for now?
That's like a year and a half.
A year and a half. So when you start out and someone heckles you, you're usually like, I thought I told you to wait in the truck. You got all these kind of like, you quickly want to stop a heckler, but as you've done it for a while, you start to talk to them, and they say something like last night, the girl, you know, over there, yip yappity, and the other one with her kid, the stay-at-home mom or whatever, the 6-year-old, and burnt her a few times. So you just, it becomes like, oh, you let them talk for less than 20 seconds, and they say something stupid, and then you can just foot sweep them.
Yeah,
It's all over. Yeah,
sweep the legs.
yeah,
quick
sweep the legs.
takedown.
So
What was another thing? Like, I don't get. Is it just time put in so you can do more shit like in comedy? Like Jimmy Carr calls a guy fat right during his show. Like the cameraman wasn't looking at him. It was looking at a guy in the front row. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, you're filming some fat dude in the second row. I feel like all the action's up here. And then everyone's like, whoa. He's like, fuck off. He's got a mirror in his house. He knows he's fat.
yeah.
But if you did that down at Nancy O's tonight, that you're not
Yeah, it's different.
too small, like too tight
Too
of a
small,
room,
too tight.
you
But
think,
it's
or-
also the guys that are actually the very funniest comics are kind of like wounded dogs. Like they're not afraid to just be like, you fat fuck. Or what? Like they really don't care what you think. And they also have a little bit of like, they're angry and mad about something. The guys that I think are funniest are always a little bit kind of pissy at something. They've had something going on. They're not just like, life's pretty good. I'm telling some jokes. They got like an underlying kind of anger thing, and that's why they take these looks at the world. And you got to be a little bit mad to get worked up enough but they can spill it out in funny. So they're really good. Like Rob Pugh. I don't know if you've seen Rob Pugh come through. He's a Canadian guy, and he's hilarious. But he gets angry on stage. But the stuff he talks about is awesome, right? Because nobody's talking about it.
Kind of wound up. There's that whole like PC. Like you can get really successful, like in Aziz Ansari or something. Like just doing those jokes that fit and they work and they sell and they're hitting demographics and all these weird things. But again, you're not going to creep into the top 5 all the time. All those guys have all the qualities like that you're describing.
Yeah, they've got that.
They don't give a fuck what you think, what you say. The one thing you see the most, especially as like a guy who's just starting out, you see when they say something and the crowd goes ooh way before they start laughing. The comic doesn't even flinch. You see this guy, he just doesn't even flinch. He's almost like a dog with a chew toy. He's like, oh, you motherfuckers think that's that? Then I'll go one step further because they don't they'll give a shit level so low. Yeah. And it's like one thing you're always, because it relieves so much anxiety if you can be that guy.
Yeah,
like,
it's got to be if
you're telling everybody, fuck you.
They don't care. Like they probably went through, some of the guys that I know that have done really well went through like a year where they just were awful. Yeah. Like they bombed all the time to get to like this truth thing. So they got it just like, I don't even really care anymore. Like when I'm up there, because I've done enough shows that you're kind of thick skinned and it doesn't bug you. But there's some guys that really don't care. Like you're like, okay, they just don't give a shit what they say, and they don't care if you don't like it. Yeah, somebody over there is gonna like it.
But those good guys, they're doing it in the pursuit of comedy to figure out what's funny. They're throwing it all against the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's like,
and then you can have a straight guy like Jerry Seinfeld that does the act, right? So I went to see him in Vancouver, and it was kind of
Yeah,
Dull.
when he came here, I didn't like him, but that's me,
he
man.
can barely creep into an all-time top 5.
No, I know.
And that guy's like hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah, well,
And never really acted outside of Seinfeld.
have you guys
Never had to do movies or anything like that.
have you guys seen? There's one where they're sitting around. It's Seinfeld with Louis C.K.
And Chris Rock
Chris
and
Rock,
Ricky Gervais.
and they kind of. He seems like they almost like throw him under the bus.
Well, the one thing Louis gets accused of, because he's always hanging out with Ricky Gervais, and those East Coast guys, they don't really like that guy.
No,
But Louis and him are good friends.
They don't like Ricky Gervais?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Louis is like the East Coast guy of all East Coast. Like, he's
Yeah.
right in that mix. So they always, because he'll go on Opie and Anthony or Opie and Jimmy, and they'll do like a lot of ball watching. I heard Jay Moore be like, they're just sitting there like watching each other's balls. They're not like being comics attacking one another.
yeah,
And like, but they can do that, and they're not doing that. So they think Louis got a whole bunch of money and kind of fucking hanging out with this loser now.
yeah. I guess not many people like Ricky Gervais, right?
Well, I don't know. I always was thinking about this with the Jimmy Carr thing too. Is like, whenever you're going to judge quality of comedy, like you build some equation in your head. So you see the moves the guy's doing, like you can spot everything, right? So
Yeah.
you see what he's doing. And then one of the things I have to factor into my equation is that accent. When you come from another place and you come to West, if you have an Australian accent or British accent, that's almost like a divided by. There's a little bit that you're getting away with that the average person over here is just laughing at because you're saying it kind of funny. You sound funny.
Yeah.
And that's not comedy per se. It's
No.
like, again, it's giving you a little extra, and you just factor that into the equation. And Ricky Gervais seems to have that in spades.
Yeah, but he's got that smarmy
He's
Brit
very
guy.
funny. He's very funny. He's very brilliant, very successful, the whole thing.
His shows are great. Like his stand-up, I'm not a big fan of, but you guys watched, like did you see Derek? Mm-hmm. Have you guys watched that on Netflix?
Very talented.
It's hilarious because at 1 minute it's like so funny, and then you're almost crying. Like it's so
Oh,
sad,
not
like an
almost.
old, like a
Not
like
almost.
like
You're
a
crying.
yeah. Like there's the old folks home and people are dying. So you're like 1 minute you're in hilarity, and then you're like, ugh, heart starts. So yeah, it's just kind of
It's a sitcom or what?
it's
It's it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's
Well, have you seen Flaked?
not yet.
It's a new one on it. It did that to me, man. Like I got high. I just started smoking weed again. I smoked weed
That's
in
the
high
one
school.
with Will Arnett, right? And
Yeah.
he's in
Yeah.
rehab or whatever. He's kind of an alcoholic guy.
He was in AA, and he was a drunk though. And he killed someone in like a drunk driving car.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because like so I got high and I was watching the show, and it's really funny. And then all of a sudden he just goes into this deep dark story about how he killed a guy when he was drunk driving and all this. You're like, oh man, like this is powerful. And then he's telling a chick the story.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden his buddy pipes in. He's like, yeah, we know you. Day doesn't go by where we don't fucking hear about it. And you're like, whoa, like, this guy has no sympathy. Now this guy just talked for 5 minutes about killing this guy.
Netflix is really into taking those chances.
Yeah.
Those shows that aren't just like every other show. That
Yeah.
come out. If you have something new, and it's kind of that, it's like a dramedy, they call it.
Yeah, it's good. Like it's just
Like,
got to
and-
be interesting.
Yeah, like with that Ricky Gervais one, it's like he's playing that handicap guy.
Yeah,
So
at
you're
first you're
getting
like-
your sympathy there. So he's getting those laughs where you want to laugh out of like a bit of, like
Yeah.
when he's just looking up videos on the internet.
The hamster,
as a
right?
retard,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my god, like what a guy! Like this is hilarious. And then at the end, like when his dad shows up and he's never met his dad,
Yeah.
and he like just gets over it and completely.
I'm on stage with you again tonight.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
Nice.
Nice work.
He just completely accepts his dad, and you're like, oh, look, this guy's
Yeah.
got this wide open heart, and he's like, oh, I got a dad now, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
it's good. And Flaked, we started to watch, but my girlfriend didn't like it because she really likes to drink. So she doesn't like it when you see a couple of AA guys.
Sober people.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, I could be heading down that
Watch
road.
House of Cards.
I did watch House of Cards until the ayahuasca.
Oh,
I
really?
watched the first 2 seasons or whatever, and then I came back and started to watch season 3. I'm like, I can't. These people are so awful. I can't watch them anymore. Right? I can't. Like, I really
It's
love
too
it. And
real,
then-
hey? Like,
they were just, he's such an awful person.
Yeah.
I just couldn't pull for him anymore. At the time, I'm like, I don't need to be watching this sort of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
he turned me off, and I loved the show.
that's the weird thing about how
Yeah.
dark that really is, because
Yeah.
it's like, it's not true, but it's
No.
true. You know?
Yeah, but a
And you're
guy
like,
that
fuck.
despicable. So I was just like, I don't need to be spending time learning about people like that. And then I watched Derek.
Right.
Right? So I just, but it took,
Yeah, way better.
the ayahuasca kneecapped the House of Cards for me, and I love that show. There's a one there's
Yeah.
one thing that's fallen to the side. So
Well, there's a guy on that show that's getting sober too, and I'm always
that's right.
dude, that's what I thought. Like, you're talking about signs from the universe?
Yeah.
I got a real drinking problem. Like, my doctor's got me listed as an alcoholic.
Does he?
Yeah, every time, dude. But every time I go in
got
there,
a
the
low
guy's,
threshold, though.
he's just a little asshole. Like, not an asshole. Every time I come in, he just, like, tells me to take off my shirt and sit down. Tells me I'm overweight. And then he asked me, he's like, okay, so you're overweight. He's like, do you smoke or? I'm like, well, no, I chew tobacco. I'm like, yeah. Or what's it say? Ask me if I use tobacco. I'm like, oh, I chew. And then I tell him I smoke. And he's like, okay, so you've got a tobacco problem. What about alcohol? How much do you drink in a week? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, did you drink anything yesterday? I was like, yeah, I had like 6 beer. He's like, Jesus, what was it, your birthday? I'm like, well, no, it's like a fucking Wednesday. Like, and he's got me pegged as an alcoholic on there. So I always wonder what's gonna happen, like if I die, or if you ever made it anywhere where you're like important enough that people wanted to hear about your death and then look about your life. My doctor has me down as an alcoholic. They're like, oh, he was just a drunk but piece of shit, like having a hard time.
My doctor's always like, well, do you drink? And I'm like, yeah, I have a few every, He's like, well, what would you say? Like, I'm like, well, most days. And he's like 20 units per week. I'm like, probably 40. Let's make it 40. And he's like, whoa, just
Every time.
Sometimes, and then I go for periods where I don't drink for months. Like I'll go in stages of stuff and just but that.
So weird that someone's keeping track of that, though.
Yeah, the doctor asks you, so I guess he's got it in his notes, but it's like you talk about somebody dying, like Gary Shandling dying yesterday.
Yeah. What was that from?
He died yesterday?
Yesterday is when I saw that. Yeah, he died yesterday
Yeah.
at 66. Oh, maybe you didn't know yet, right?
No,
he
Well,
died.
you guys were talking about it earlier, I think, right?
No, not Gary Shandling. So he died at 66, and then I read his thing, and it talked about all he did, and then like he was never married, never had any kids. It just kind of like, wow, it was kind of a sad ending that you went through life all alone, and then you did all this stuff, and then you just died. Right. So
the one thing I don't understand is whenever they won't tell you cause of death, like while it's being announced, you always think it's something dark as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Well, they don't know yet. Well, because they just said, but he didn't have any health concerns, so it wasn't like he died of.
Right.
So they just don't know.
So you're thinking we got a Robin Williams on our hands, or do we have some sort of guy who just had cardiac failure?
Well, a lot of time, like a drug overdose, he died in his sleep, and you're like,
yeah, that's just
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that like Robin Williams, I think he was hanging.
Yeah, he was hung himself. Yeah,
Sorry,
and that one, that really bugged me.
Yeah,
like not very often does somebody that I like a celebrity, but because he came down to the Urban Well and did shows, he's sort of like, and he was really good and nice to everybody in that when he came in. So you feel like,
what was it like watching that guy on stage like working out?
Yeah, he's not. It's
was
weird.
he still as eccentric? Like
just
running down avenues all over the place?
He'd go way down in the crowd and right at people's table, and then you'd see him sort of doing bits he did there on like Conan. A week later. Right. So he appears to be going super fast off the top of his head, but it's all constructed, I think.
In a way, yeah.
But it really was like.
Well, I think the more you can make it seem like it's spontaneous, the better. Right?
Well, he's a very, very, very good actor. That's the one guy who started out as one of the silliest guys anybody had ever saw, and then became this guy who did Good Will Hunting. He did a bunch of drama where like he won Oscars.
Yeah, well, when he died, I remember when he won that Oscar, I was clapping like, oh, I won for the comedy. But like when he died, because you'd seen him, he did all this stuff, and you sort of felt like he was like an uncle of all the comedy.
A friend you grew up with.
But it was just this sort of like, if that guy has to kill himself, what the fuck am I up to? This guy's done everything you want to do, and he's still not happy.
Yeah,
that's when you start to understand clinical depression.
Yeah,
in a crazy way.
So when he showed up, he did the first time I saw him at the Urban Well, I was headlining.
Yeah,
I went out to do the set. It was finally my time to headline, and the Urban Well was like stacked with hot chicks everywhere. It was like you just banging hot chicks all over. It was awesome, right? So I went out and I had the smoking hot set. I was like, oh, fuck. And then as I come through the stage, I go off and the MC's like, okay, we got a special guest. And I was like, special guest? Who the fuck's going on after that heat, right? And Robin Williams passes me like in the green room sort of. He's like, good set, kid. And then he went out. And he went out and he just annihilated the place. And then he's like, and then I talked to him afterwards. I'm like, thanks a lot, man. He's like, what? I'm like, I was going to get late for sure. Nobody knows I was even on the show. I'm just a fucking memory. Like, I just got erased, right? Like, he took my championship night and just destroyed it.
That's funny.
Yeah, I was only like a couple of years in. It was one of my first big headline breaks, right?
Yeah.
Robin Williams
comes in fucking Jackson from
that roof's not down yet. I'll get it.
Yeah, it was pretty like son of a bitch, right?
Yeah,
but
that motherfucker.
Yeah, and it's
what year is that?
That's probably maybe around 2000, 99, 2000, somewhere in there. I'd say he was coming.
Good Will Hunting was 99. So.
Yeah, it was after he'd won the Oscar for that. So he had already won the Oscar, and he was up in. Whenever he came to Vancouver, because he'd film a lot of movies up there. I think he was doing the first night at the museum, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Was why he was in town or something like that. And so he would just come down and do sets, and then everybody was. Well, like Zach Galifianakis spent a year and a half in Vancouver doing stand-up.
That's what I heard. Someone tried to tell me he's from there.
No, but he did, like, he was down every week at, doing stand-up. He was mostly over at the alternative rooms.
Yeah, how much do you
where's the
see
best
that alt
place to do
comedy?
it?
Is there a big alt comedy scene in Vancouver?
Not really. Alt comedy's kind of now mainstream. It's not, the whole alt thing's kind of, it got so alt that they forgot to keep the funny in it.
Right.
It was getting to be, like, unfunny, and that was what was funny about it. So you had these comics like, well, if you didn't get it, that's your problem, not mine. So those guys can only, there's guys that do comedy around Vancouver now. These alt guys that, like, if they started when we started, they would have quit.
Right.
The first time they went to Alberta, a bar would have made them cry. It would have been fucking
But like
just solved.
Patton Oswalt is alt comedy, but it's just comedy.
Yeah, it's just comedy. So like Zach Galifianakis is alt or whatever, but he was in town because he was doing some medical procedure show. He had some like weird TV show he was on, and he was filming it. So he'd come down and do these shows, and then and the bad part there was that he got mad at my girlfriend. I had this Spanish chick that was kind of loud, and he was on stage, and she came in kind of drunk, yelling, and he was like, "Hey, who the fuck's making?" And then sort of I apologized to him, like, "Oh, sorry, Zach, this won't happen again, whatever." And then he went on, and he wasn't doing so well, and about 8 minutes later, he came back and started teeing off on her. She wasn't talking anymore, and I was like, "Hey, shut your fucking mouth." So then I got mad, and I had to I'm not very tall, so I remember standing on like the edge of a stool, not the very top, but the leg things, to stand over the bar. I'm like, "You got a problem, Zach? You want to fucking take it outside?" So I asked Zach to step outside. It was like, "Calm down, sir." So they all calmed it down, and that was, and then, I don't know, 2 years later, he's doing the
Hangover.
He's on the Hangover. Fuck, I called that guy out. Yeah, that wasn't a good move in hindsight, right? But I had this girlfriend that I had to stick up for all the time, open her door, throw a jacket in a puddle if she had to cross it, right? A real princess that,
integrity, though.
that was
That's
my
integrity.
Fucker.
Yeah, that was my last
that guy.
altercation with him. Step outside.
Fucking old comic.
And it would be like asking him to step outside at Nancy O's. It was just some shitty little like weird small little restaurant we were doing comedy on a Monday.
Everyone
right?
be watching through the window like, "Oh, he's fucking losing."
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Nobody really knew who he was, right? He was just this comic, but he hadn't done.
Yeah, he hadn't.
I think he was in that
Snowed In tour.
not Snowed In tour, but what was the there was a movie where it's like a ski snow movie.
Frozen. No, you're
Frozen.
thinking the beer movie?
It's way back. The only guy I know, like Paul Meyerhog, saw him. He's like, "Holy fuck, you guys know that guy?" Because he was in this. It's like a teen romp.
Oh, Cold or whatever?
That might be it.
Is that it?
You're getting close.
I don't know.
No, what? Well,
Guy kind of came out of nowhere.
But he'd ride down on like one of those cruiser bikes.
Oh, Cold, like
And
2001? Like,
yeah, that would be it.
I think,
So we had done that.
like this guy here. That's maybe him.
Yeah,
there?
that's him there. So Paul Meyerhog loved this. So he's like, "Oh, you guys
Good
know."
for him.
Look how proud I am. I fucking
Yeah,
nailed one.
you nailed it.
Yeah.
And
I don't know any.
I always liked this joke. He had a joke about that you
that's
couldn't.
What's Zach Galifianakis' net worth?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we had to do that. Well, we'll compare it to Shredder's. We'll look you up.
I don't know if I come up on net worth. Negative.
Bet you got DMX beat.
What's I guess
wearing my
Zach
net worth right
Galifianakis? He probably would have made what, 20 million on each of those last hangovers?
Should we do this and get
He
we got to
got the
get you
third
home,
one.
eh?
Yeah.
It's 3:45.
I would
really?
say
Oh, shit.
he's
Yeah,
worth
we should hustle. Are we doing net
84
worth?
million.
84 million. I'll go 35 million.
Okay.
Celebrity net worth. The Mike Stang's locking in at what?
$35 million. He did Due Date with Downey Jr.
And what did
3
you go with?
hangovers, royalties.
I have no idea.
84 over there.
Yeah.
84, and you got
36,
How do you
I
spell
think.
fucking Zach Galifianakis?
Galifianakis was the last
There it is.
shitty last name. I'm learning this funky down.
Net worth. Here we go. 20 million.
Oh, gee, what a bum.
He must
This-
be spending it all fucking.
This
wild.
guy was fucking blowing it
Spend
quick.
it all on fucking.
Zach,
He's got to get on Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah, because I know the top guys are making like 16 mil a year. Kind
Well,
of
they
like
get
I said.
like your biggest quote if you're the biggest guy is 20 million a movie.
I thought he would have got that type of dough for the last
I
two
thought for the
hangovers.
last.
Yeah,
one
you would
at
think,
least,
for
yeah.
sure.
Because he's pretty crucial, but that was like a 4-man lead, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
Where
I
they
guess
got to
so, but-
split that up. Even Bradley Cooper might not get that.
But he was good. He had a joke about that you couldn't fax acid. I always like that. Yeah, like a sheet of acid. Yeah.
That's
Can't
so funny.
fax it. He tried to fax in some acid to a friend and it didn't work or whatever. It was a really good joke, right? Like that's what I remember laughing about.
Got brain pills laying on the floor.
Okay.
Did I not take
But I guess we do have to wrap it up. I got to
Yeah.
be on a conference call in another 20 minutes.
15 minutes. Yeah, 14 minutes.
Smokes.
We can't start. Oh, there's Paul Meyerhog sending me a text as I talk about, see, the universe working.
Shout out
right
to
there.
Paul Meyerhog.
Well, yeah, should we just call it quits or do you want to
Yeah, my
finish
phone's
this or not?
dying and I feel like fucking Marty McFly right now. Just watch myself dissolve into
Oh,
no
you're losing.
non-existence right now.
Okay, we'll call her. We'll give you the win for the Celebrity Network.
Okay, I'll
We'll
take
grab
it.
you a $15 iTunes gift card. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been one
Hey,
of the most
my pleasure,
entertaining
guys.
podcasts we've had
Oh,
for
no.
sure. It was great. Stinger, thanks for showing up.
No problem. We're going to see Damonde
Tight Skrider.
Damonde.
That's
Damonde
because the way it's spelt, there was a guy, a friend of mine. I'll just tell you the last story. He got a check of mine. I knew this guy, Roman Danilo, for a couple of years. He got my check sent to his house. We'd done this gig. And then when he saw my name, he's like, that's how you spell your name? He got my check and he's like, Damonde Tight Skrider. Who the fuck's this guy? And he sent it back. And I had known him for like 2 years. He's like, I didn't know that's how you spelt your name, right? So he sent the check back. He thought it was just some random Russian fuck or something that.
That ended up with your shit.
Yeah. So he's
That's
like, yeah, I
hilarious.
sent your check back. I didn't know it was you.
Tight shitter.
Typewriter. Okay, well, thanks very much for
Alright,
coming.
guys.
We'll get you out of here, and I'll see you tonight at the show again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, we can't plug that. We won't hear this until.
Yeah, unless anyone's listening live, but just, yeah, it looks like
don't know.
we lost them. Lost them after the
Those
tight
2,000
shirt.
people